The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone to today's webinar hosted here by Boostability. My name is Sunny Nielsen. I am the Communications Manager here at Boostability, and I will be your host/moderator for today's webinar. And joining with me today is Kaz Bevan. She is our Director of Marketing and Sales Operations here at Boostability. And we are excited to have a special speaker with us today. It is Sander Schroeder. He is the VP of Paid Social for Disruptive Advertising. So thank you so much. We love to have guest speakers on here, especially ones that can really help our audience better understand their online presence and to help their businesses grow. Now, for those of you who are on the webinar, a couple of housekeeping items. First off, there is a chat feature here in the webinar, so you are more than welcome to throw in a hello. Please tell us where you're from. We'd love to know from where around the country, the U.S. or the world that you are tuning in from. So we'd love to hear from you there. There is also a questions feature in the webinar, and this is an open forum Q&A webinar. So we'll be going over a couple of highlights within the webinar, as you can see right here. This webinar will be covering information about expanding your efforts in social media, identifying the social platforms that are best for your industry, for your business, just to help you better identify, since there are so many varieties and there's new ones coming out every day. We want you to understand what is best for your business and your industry, and then help you to better improve your advertising messages so that those advertising dollars have the most impact. And of course, you will learn more about navigating your social advertising platforms so that you can be most effective when you go onto social media. Once again, this is an open forum Q&A discussion, so once we touch on those highlights, we will be opening it up to discussion. So once again, there is a questions section here. Please feel free to put that in. We actually have someone here from Belgium. Welcome from Belgium. I don't even know what time it is there. It's probably early evening. I'm sure it's lovely there. Please put your questions in the question box, and myself, Kaz, or Sander will do our best to answer those questions. And you can always follow us online. We will also be continuing the discussion online after the webinar. So if we don't get to your questions, please don't worry. Any question that you enter into the webinar, if we don't get to it, we will research, make sure that we get an answer to you, and you will get an answer either via email, or we always try to post the answers on social media as well. So please follow us online. You can follow Boostability. You can follow Kaz at Kaz Bevan. My Twitter handle is the Jolly Polly because I am Polynesian. So feel free to follow me, Kaz, or you can also follow Sander. Sander, can you tell me what your Twitter handle is?
Sander Schroeder.
Sander Schroeder, there you go. And you will see his Twitter handle again here right towards the end. So please feel free, connect with us, ask us questions. We want to be a part of it. And now I'm going to hand over the reins to Kaz, and she will go a little bit more in depth into the details of the webinar. Take it away, Kaz.
Hello, everyone. Good morning from Australia. That's where I am this morning. It's still very dark. So there have been a few recent changes that we'll go over to some social media platforms, but mostly we're going to go over what you can do with social media advertising. Some of these things you may know, and some of these may spark some ideas for you. So you can build brand awareness and increase in-store local traffic. So if you have a physical store, you can drive people to your store, just like you can drive people to your website. And you can reach new audiences that you can't reach otherwise throughout the entire world, or even just in a niche area. You can increase engagement on a social media post to get more people to like and comment on something. If you have an app, a Facebook app, you can encourage more app downloads. You can show off a new video. A recent report just came out that Facebook is dominating YouTube on video advertising. So that's really something to consider if you've only been using YouTube or other video platforms. And you can increase product sales both online and in your store, and again, drive traffic to your website. So those are some key factors for advertising. And when it comes to social advertising, the big ones are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram are actually the same platform, so you can operate all of that from the Facebook side. And the next slide, we're going to go over just some recent changes. Some of them have been announced and already rolled out, and some of them have been announced and for some reason are still there. So we'll go over those. Some recent changes is that the Facebook updated the organization of their business managers. So that's where if you have multiple Facebook pages or multiple advertising accounts, they really cleaned that up and made it a lot easier to use. And the nice thing there is that it's a lot faster. It used to be pretty clunky and pretty slow and really terrible for anybody trying to do anything quickly. So all the need to use what they formerly had, which was Power Editor, to get things done quickly, you can now manage easily through just the Business Manager, which is their more visual side of things. They used to have lead generation pages that you could build directly into your Facebook page. They call them Canvas pages, and while they still exist for people that have built them, they've done away with being able to build more, which is similar to something that Twitter has done as well. If you skip down a couple points, Twitter used to have lead generation cards, which were a type of advertisement that you could build that would automatically, just with one click, send that person's Twitter information and their email directly to your CRM, so that you get to capture their information without them having to leave the Twitter website. And they did away with being able to create those in February and did away with being able to utilize those as of March 1st. But for some reason, that's one that's still sticking around. We have several lead card campaigns that we run ourselves that are still kind of ticking along at much slower rates. You can tell that they're winding it down, but Twitter doesn't allow us to edit or create new ones. So that's something that has changed and I think will be entirely gone soon. Another Facebook change is that it used to be when you were doing a Facebook conversion campaign, which meant that it only was telling you once somebody reached a certain pixel or a certain page, so a thank you page from a lead generation page, for example. So it used to just be a standard that they would count any conversions, any visits to that particular Facebook pixel within 90 days, which looked really great because it always looked like you had hundreds of people that were converting simply because they visited this one point. But now they allow you to manage that yourself. So you can put it as low as 7 days conversion all the way up to 90 days. 90 days is the max. So if you want just realistic, to the point of view of an advertising you're running, you want to know who converts immediately, then I would suggest keeping that at a lower number. And that should help some of the complaints that a lot of people have about their Facebook conversion numbers being very different from something like a Google Analytics number. One of the biggest reasons those are so far off from each other is the way that each of them count a visit. And one of those is that Facebook will count every conversion over a 90-day period of time previous to now. So now you can drop that a little lower and kind of have a realistic view of what's going on there, which will allow you to do way better optimizations for things. And then, just like everyone else, LinkedIn decided they wanted a facelift too. So they've completely redone their entire LinkedIn website. I'm sure you've noticed, and that includes their advertising setup, which at first was a little bit tricky, but they have fixed that now. So it used to be that you could just click on a post that you had on your LinkedIn page and simply say add to a sponsorship campaign, but now you have to click on the campaign, click on ads, and then click on recent posts, and then click on which posts you want to add. So they've made it a much longer process, but it at least looks a lot cleaner, and it doesn't take long to learn how to use those changes. So that's it for recent changes. All of them have rolled out in just the last few weeks, so perfect timing for this webinar. And then just a brief introduction if you don't know about BoostSocial.com. Boost Social is a product of Boostabilities where we help you run your Facebook page, your Twitter page, etc. We'll do some consistent posts for you so that your page stays active, and we will run just basic campaigns, and by basic campaigns I mean follower campaigns and engagement campaigns. So we help optimize your accounts for search, make sure it has all the correct business information, make sure that you have photos for your accounts, and essentially just make sure that each one of your accounts looks like it should and operates like it should. And then we post popular content. That doesn't mean we post everything for you. You still have free reign of posting what you want and more recent information about your business, and we help guide you towards different things that you can post from within your company. And overall, we just help you boost your social presence by running things like follower campaigns on Facebook. So if you have any questions about Boost Social, visit boostsocial.com and we'll be in touch. So now I'm going to turn over to Sonder from Disruptive Advertising. They do something similar to Boost Social but at a much larger scale. So that's something that they're absolutely pros in, and he's going to go over some frequently asked questions before we open it up to the floor on questions. So take it away, Sonder.
Awesome. Thanks, Cass. Appreciate that. Yeah, maybe, and I'll just give a quick introduction about myself just so you're familiar with who I am and where my experience lies. So I've been doing digital marketing for about 7 years now. I started my business when I was in college 7 years ago, manufacturing and selling watches online. And that kind of introduced me to digital marketing. So that's where I got started in Facebook advertising. The platform back then was much simpler than it is today. If you've ever boosted a post, that's pretty close to what it was. Definitely more interest targeting, not so much behaviors. I remember when it was big news that you can now target people on mobile devices and in the app. So it's come a long way, and it's pretty awesome. What's happened since then. I've also worked at another digital marketing agency where I've worked with a lot of enterprise clients like ESPN, Dell, Adobe, Salesforce, so different companies like that. And then I went and was the CMO for an e-commerce company doing about $30 million a year. And now I'm here at Disruptive Advertising, where I oversee our paid social products. So I work with our account managers and strategists and help them with any strategy, make sure our salespeople know how to audit accounts and how to help people there. And so it's been an awesome job. So as far as probably the most frequent question I get is, can social media advertising be profitable for my business? Typically my response to that is, what are your goals? What are your KPIs? How are you going to measure success? So depending on that answer, and maybe the KPIs that are successful on paid social are definitely lead gen, product purchases, any kind of pre-sale, so maybe like a Kickstarter, Indiegogo campaigns, app downloads, Kaz mentioned video views earlier. So yeah, anything from brand awareness to actual lead gen to acquisition. But I do think it's very important to know what your KPIs are. So if you do need purchases for your e-commerce store, knowing what your CPA or customer acquisition cost goal is, that is very helpful, and that allows us to know if we can help you or if you can be successful. So that kind of ties into the next bullet here of initial order value versus lifetime value. So in a couple slides we'll talk a little bit more about industries, but most industries it's difficult to be profitable on an initial order value. So what an initial order value is, is the first time someone purchases from you. So if you need your customer acquisition cost to be $40 and your average order value of that initial order is, let's say, $80, then you're at a 2-to-1 return on ad spend. So that's what I mean by being profitable on that initial order value. Where most industries fall is they typically break even or maybe pay a little bit more of what their initial order value size is, but their lifetime value of a customer justifies that. So using the same example, if we acquire a customer at $80 and you break even on that first purchase, let's say your customer on average orders from you 6 times over the next year, that would be $480. So it's definitely worth, you know, an $80 acquisition for a $480 purchase. So that's typically where I like to start, is just within the business objectives, getting to know your business, your industry, who your customers are, your buyer personas, and then your KPIs tie into all of that. So what social media platforms are best for your business? So B2C, we primarily focus on Facebook advertising. That's where we see the most success. Facebook's that 1,000-pound gorilla with AdWords, right? So those are the 2 biggest networks. Facebook's ad platform is by far the most mature, definitely the most built out, have a lot more targeting options. But we also do see some success with Twitter. LinkedIn, probably not going to be your best channel. Pinterest can be a decent channel for B2C. If it's e-commerce, I definitely see Pinterest as more of an investment strategy. So getting on there now, they estimate that 80% of the U.S. Women population will be on Pinterest in the next 3 years. So definitely a good investment to be there. And then for B2B, LinkedIn is very popular just because you have a lot of job title targeting. You can target by job function and industry, so you can do a little bit of a broader audience there. It is a lot more expensive. Typically, your cost per click on LinkedIn is anywhere from $6 to $12, depending on if you're going after like a C-level job title versus, you know, a director or manager. That's kind of where that range comes in. But we also like to use Facebook and Twitter on B2B for more of your content marketing. So if you're very active with blog articles and writing different content, white papers, Twitter and Facebook do a really good job of getting people that top of funnel traffic to your top of funnel content. And then what you can do from there is create a funnel retargeting strategy where you continually show people content and then eventually work them down to an offer. So that's where social can play in. And you're most likely, if you're B2B, you're probably doing a lot of SEO, you're doing AdWords, content marketing. So you're spending a lot of money and investing a lot of money in these areas to acquire traffic to your website. So retargeting is just a great way to leverage what you're already doing. And so that kind of covers the top of funnel versus middle funnel versus bottom funnel as far as social media goes. And then industries. So this is kind of the next big question whenever we're talking to a potential client, or someone reaches out to me on LinkedIn if what social channel would be best for them. So e-commerce for B2C, e-commerce where we've seen a lot of success is in the outdoor space, boutiques, automotive. Those are probably our 3 biggest industries where we've seen success with e-commerce. That doesn't mean other channels aren't successful, but those are definitely our 3 major e-commerce channels that we see success. Education, we see a lot of success as well. So for universities, especially secondary schools, so post-grad, getting master's, doctorate, things like that, social's been a great channel. So we typically start with top of funnel and do that funnel retargeting I was discussing, and that aligns well with what they're seeing through their other efforts that are coming from SEO and paid search, things like that. Financing, so these are like robo-lending companies, people who do short-term loans, so things just that generally help people be smarter with their finances. That could also be credit repair, things like that. So those are typically good industries. There's, you know, I guess a lot of snake oil in those industries as well. So we do a really good job at just conveying the pros and cons of products and telling people why they need those. And then also software for professionals. So we have a couple clients that do software for truck drivers, where I kind of think of like an Uber for truck drivers, where carriers can contact truck drivers to take shipments. We also have software for dentists that do well. So just specific job title targeting like that has done really well on Facebook. And as far as the professional, we've seen some success on LinkedIn as well. Once again, LinkedIn's just a lot more expensive to advertise on, so it kind of comes back to those KPIs and metrics. As far as industries that are a little bit more difficult to be profitable on that initial purchase, typically like skincare, supplements, weight loss, business coaching, real estate coaching, those industries can be a little bit more difficult. But there's 1.7 billion active users on Facebook, so there's an audience out there, right? So it kind of comes down to budget and how willing you can be to testing it and seeing. Yeah, I guess it just becomes a game of gathering data and seeing what audiences stick, because your audience is definitely out there. You just have to find it. So those industries I mentioned, it's not impossible by any means. Just, you know, it takes a little bit more testing and finalizing an audience there. And then the pros and cons of each platform. So Facebook, as you can see, compared to the others, definitely has a lot more pros. And I think a lot of that is just the maturity of Facebook, the targeting options. And it's very easy for anyone to go on and create a Facebook advertising campaign. As Kat said, they've updated their Ads Manager platform, and it's made it even easier to do, you know, little tweaks or pro tips that we used to do in the past. That's kind of now integrated those, which is nice. As far as targeting goes, you can target interests, behaviors, demographics. Facebook gets a lot of data and information from just about from a lot of third-party data aggregators. So they know how many lines of credit people have, what their income ranges are. So you can do a lot of great targeting within Facebook. They also have revenue tracking, so the way you can capture leads, purchases, just the whole pixel is phenomenal from that standpoint. And Facebook is great to scale budgets. They also offer a lot of different ad types. So Kaz also mentioned that Twitter got rid of lead cards. Well, what's cool on Facebook is they have what's called lead ads. So what you can do is create an ad in Facebook that keeps that experience within Facebook. So instead of them clicking on an ad and going to a landing page, they click on the call to action. It pops up a box that tells them a little bit more about your business. So that's where you want to put your competitive advantages. And then they hit next, and then it auto-populates all of their information that's on Facebook into a form. So name, email, phone number, zip, different things like that. And then all they do is hit submit. So that ad type is great. You can also do app installs, video views, just a lot of different objectives across the board on Facebook. The biggest con to Facebook is, like I said, it's one of the 1,000-pound gorillas now, so there's a lot of people advertising, which means costs are continually going up on Facebook. Now, since it is a marketplace, you're bidding on these different interests and behaviors, demographics. So we're seeing, just as a little pro tip, that the less layering you do, typically the cheaper your clicks are, which leads to a cheaper conversion. So yeah, that's definitely something you can do to hopefully help mitigate the con that exists there. Twitter is great for content, and Facebook includes Instagram. So keep in mind that when I'm mentioning Facebook, we're also using Instagram as a platform as well. I'll just touch on that real quick. Instagram, you will want to make it a little bit more personal and a little bit more customizable. You'll want your images to be a little bit more artsy, stand out, is what we've seen perform better. So don't just select like all placements and let Instagram run. I would definitely, just because your text boxes are a lot different, so you'll want to make sure it's customized to Instagram. Twitter, the pros for Twitter is just, it's great for content app downloads. The biggest con right now is Twitter's investing a lot less into their actual advertising network. If you've been following Twitter since Jack took over, the former CEO that they brought back, they've just been focusing a lot more on product and getting their monthly users up. They're one of the slowest growing social networks right now. So, you know, there's a lot that's going into the product development. And then I believe the things that we have been seeing, like the lead gen cards, will come back. We'll start seeing some more robust targeting. But Twitter definitely gives you a lot of great options for targeting as well. It's just they're kind of backing off of the network a little bit. And then LinkedIn is great for B2B targeting, like I talked about earlier, with job titles, seniority, job function, different things like that. And the biggest con is it's just really expensive. It's not the most intuitive network either. So Microsoft, I believe it was Microsoft who purchased LinkedIn with the Bing network. So they just released a roadmap just links. So if you Google LinkedIn advertising platform roadmap, you should see their new roadmap, and it looks pretty awesome what they want to be doing there. But there's definitely a lot of work that needs to take place on LinkedIn before I think it becomes a more serious player. Just 80% of their revenue comes through recruiting, so that's why, you know, they haven't spent as much time on their ad network. And then as far as getting started on each platform, so Facebook, I typically recommend people just get started with boosting a post. If you're joining us today, you most likely have a Facebook page for your business, and you're probably posting content on that page. So it's pretty easy just to click that boost button on your page and get started there. And just get a little bit familiar with the interests, the ages, the locations. And so that's definitely where I recommend starting. Now, I don't think it's as effective when it comes down, I guess, to your KPIs. And if you're looking to grow your LinkedIn page, boosting, or not your LinkedIn, your Facebook page, boosting works great. If you're looking for more of an acquisition approach, then you'll definitely want to start migrating towards Ads Manager. So the only reason I recommend starting with the boosted post is it's just more introductory to targeting. LinkedIn, I would definitely start with sponsored content. The text ads don't work as well. If you see them on LinkedIn, they get most people just don't click on those. They know they're ads. They don't take up a lot of real estate, so you can't really get across competitive advantages. Where sponsored content, you can, take people to a blog article you've written or to your website. Takes up a little bit more real estate, so I would definitely focus on starting with promoting sponsored content. And then with Twitter, same thing, promoting a tweet if it's for your business. You can just promote a tweet. Typically, I would try to make it top of funnel content value driven, just because you only get 140 characters, so you're not going to be able to convey a lot of competitive advantages or information. So content giving your potential customer or audience something will definitely go a long way to getting them to your website. All right, and now we have a few case studies to go over. Kaz, are you there?
I am, sorry, I was on mute. I'm sitting here talking to myself. So we have a couple case studies for when we very first rolled out our Boost Social product. So this is over about a 3-month period of time for just a cosmetic retail business, to give you an example of the variety of businesses that can benefit. You know, you don't have to be a big business. You can be an individual. It can be a hobby. It can be whatever you're trying to do. So with this case study, we were able to get 6,379 people reached and increase likes by 176 for a very, very new Facebook page. So you can see there it went from nearly zero, just her friends and family, to growing exponentially over the first few months. And this is also because I wanted to illustrate that if you're just starting out, it is slow growth at the beginning. When you're building your Facebook presence, it's a lot of people will tell you about the magic 2,000, which kind of goes across the board for all social media. It will be a very gradual line like this until you get to about 2,000 friends, and then all of a sudden you'll start growing at a much sharper rate. So we can go to the next slide there, and it'll just illustrate the basics of what this account was able to accomplish in the first 3 months of their Facebook page being built. So 222% growth there, and 6,700 reached, and 119 new followers. Sorry, that says total reach, but it's followers. And then this is an example of a restaurant, a similar period of time. For this one, it was about 5 to 6 month period of time. Also a fairly new website, but they had been working on it themselves for a little while, so they already had close to 1,000 friends, and we increased that to 3,873. So you can see again that right here it's got that same kind of gradual growth, and then as we pass the 2,000 mark, it starts to get a little bit sharper. And then their page reach is drastically higher as they get past that mark. So you can see how they are now reaching have impressions of 73,745, and these are with very, very basic small budget campaigns. So the next slide just shows a summary of what they were able to accomplish in that time. So really big growth on likes, 2,253%, and again the reach is 73,000 plus, and 156 post engagements. So that's people that are commenting on their posts. And then we have some additional case studies. These ones are from the disruptive side. So Sandra, if you want to go over these ones, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, this is a case study for one of our clients. So an e-commerce company that primarily, everything they do is car cosmetics. So a little bit of a niche audience. It appeals a little bit more to people who, love their cars. It's a major investment. For some, it's more than their rent or their mortgage. So they definitely like and are passionate about their cars. So kind of that motorhead kind of mentality. So what we did for them, where we saw a lot of success, is we took their customer list. They had a lot of purchases, and we uploaded that to Facebook. And then what's cool within Facebook is you can create a lookalike audience. So Facebook will take that customer list that you uploaded and create a lookalike list based off of those people's interests, behaviors, demographics. So it's a pretty cool feature that Facebook has. And then we created a targeted audience, so people who were car owners, that they, different interests that we layered on with that to know they were a little bit more serious about their cars. And all of our images, we had, pretty nice cars. So we would include like BMWs or, nice Mustang or Audi, Infinitis, cars like that were very appealing and had the product on those cars. So definitely caught people's eyes. And within 24 hours of launching this campaign, we were able to get almost a 35x return on ad spend. So what that means is for every dollar we spent, we were making them $35. So we had a cost per conversion of $4. And this is a case study, one of our top performers. So hopefully we're not setting expectations that on Facebook you'll do this every time, but this is definitely a case study, one of our top performers. And then the result looks like the slide didn't update here. After about a month and a half, we were still maintaining about a 27-28x. So for every dollar they spent, we were making them $27-28, and we've been able to maintain that going forward. So cost per conversion, I think, went up to like $6. Maybe it was like $5.75. So definitely an awesome case study there. And then health and fitness coaching. So there's definitely a lot of coaches out there, a lot of people that are helping people physically, mentally, emotionally. So we had a health client, and what we did is we created lead ads. If you remember me talking about those before, keeping that experience on Facebook, so we're not taking them to a website. The lead form just pops up right within Facebook, and we were able to really see an awesome cost per lead for them. So we're able to generate leads for them for around $6. Their campaigns before that were closer to $15-20. So we saw a lot of great successes, and then we're able to get them a book call for about $53, which was great. Once, if you take those same numbers before, they were getting a book call for about $150 to $200. So we saw a lot of great successes, and it's pretty cool. Our mission at Disruptive is to build result-based relationships and really help grow companies. And we were able to take a small company like this and make it a large company where they could go out and hire some of their first employees and really grow this. So this is a case study. That's really what we like to do, is help grow companies and just build lasting relationships that way.
Thank you so much, Sonder, for going through those case studies, and thank you, Kaz, for reviewing the case studies from Boost Social and Boostability as well. As you can see by the slide, this is the open forum time to answer questions that you have posed to us. So again, if you have any questions that have popped up into your head as we've been going throughout the slides or throughout the presentation, please feel free to throw them into the question box. We do have a couple right now, so let's go ahead and get started with those. But if any more come to you, feel free to throw them in, and we will answer as many as we possibly can. All right, Cheryl Brown asked if you can be a little bit more specific, Sonder. She asked, where do you go for the Facebook Ads Manager boosted posts? Can you help identify where that is?
Yeah, so boosted posts will be directly on your page. So if you just go to your Facebook page, then when you go down to one of the posts that you've published on your page, you should see a little boost section right there, and then you just click boost, and that will pull up the targeting options. You'll be able to set your budgets, locations, things like that. So once again, just right on the page. You need to have a published post on there, but it should be showing up. Sometimes if you're not logged into the right account and not an admin on that page, then it won't give you that option. So just make sure you're under your Facebook account where you are the admin on that page.
Thank you so much. Our next question comes from Brittany, and she initially asked, how many boosted posts on Facebook would you recommend doing per week? I asked her for a little bit more clarification on what she wanted the post to accomplish and a little bit of background on her company.
Awesome.
And she said, I'm working for a garage door company. We make custom garage doors, install and repair garage doors, sell and install garage parts, etc. It is a family business, and we're one of the biggest garage door companies in Oklahoma. And I'm wondering how to draw more likes and interest. I've been posting before and after pictures, sales, community work, etc. Any recommendations?
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so you're probably in a little bit of a unique situation. Did you say it was Brittany?
Yes, it's
Is that the name?
Mm-hmm.
Brittany? Yeah, so Brittany, you're probably in a little bit of a more unique situation where I'm sure your customers will come, they'll like your page, but a lifetime value on a garage door is, probably pretty minimal, where, you get their garage door installed and maybe you have some service repairs here and there. But for the most part, they're probably not going to be ordering multiple garage doors. So yeah, I think the biggest thing for you is getting your customers to leave reviews on Facebook. And then also, I would be boosting posts not to people who like my page, but I would be, boosting my posts to friends of people who like my page, or boosting it either radius targeting or Oklahoma, since you said you're one of the biggest garage door installers. So I would use it as more of an acquisition strategy, and one good way just to get people to engage with your page is to do some sort of contest. So whether that's a discount on an install, or giving away a free product, maybe it's a $100, $250 gift card to Lowe's or Home Depot, or whatever it is. So different things that kind of tie into your brand. That's probably how I would go about a boosting strategy. As far as how many times, I would probably make it more around, do like a monthly contest. That's probably what I'd be boosting, and then I would get into Ads Manager and start setting up more of like an acquisition campaign where you can target homeowners. So you can go into demographics and target people who own homes, or people who are looking at building homes. So different things like that. So wherever your buyer personas, just kind of create those, and when people are looking for those kinds of things. So maybe people who own older homes, so you can target people who own older homes. So there's certain things like that that you can target within Facebook, and just that's where I think your before and after pictures would be awesome, is posting those in a carousel ad. So those are the rotation ads where you click the button to scroll back and forth between the different images. So I would definitely test something out like that as well.
Sandra, can you clarify, she's asking, how do you boost posts to target Oklahoma, like a specific region? They said they have a lot of repeat customers, so it would be nice to be able to target in that
cool.
location.
Well, there you go. There should just be a location within the actual boosted post section where you can choose your different location. When I did it, it's been a couple weeks since I boosted a post. It's not something we focus on a lot here at Disruptive, and so it's been a couple weeks. But when I did it, there was just a location setting of like states that I could choose. So I just wanted to target a few states. It's for my wife's business, so just certain states. And so I just remember there being a location section on there. Kaz, do you have any insight to that?
It depends exactly. I would have to look into that a little bit more, and to get the exact answer, email.
Okay. Brittany, if you want, you can email me and I can send you screenshots. So my email is Saunder, S-A-U-N-D-E-R, @disruptiveadvertising.com. And it will be on the last slide here. Or I guess my email won't, but my first name will. So just email me and I can send you screenshots of where that location's at.
Great, thank you. We also have someone asking that Ernesto says he's working on a new web page. Do you have any recommendations for someone who can help him manage all of the new marketing campaigns?
For a new web page?
Yep.
Yeah, obviously Boost Social is going to be a good option for you. Disruptive advertising could be. We do have a little bit of a higher price point, but what we could definitely do is consulting as well, if that's something that's a little bit, yeah, I guess it just depends on kind of what your campaigns look like, how much budget you're willing to spend, and we have resources. Both of us, both Disruptive and Boostability, have a lot of great resources on our blogs that can help get you started. Now, if you have a very competitive budget and things, then we can definitely be a great resource to help you there as well.
Wonderful. Someone asks, Israel asks, what can a chocolate brand who is selling low-price products in the $20 range, is there a paid Facebook strategy for lower-priced products like that?
Yeah, there definitely is, and that's where we like to look at the lifetime value of a customer quite a bit more, just because I'm sure in order for you to be profitable, you're going to need to be getting purchases around $5 to $8. So that's where it's nice to know what your lifetime value is, and I'm sure there's a lot of like seasonal offerings and things you can do with that. So there's actually some cool targeting options on Facebook where you can target people whose spouses have a birthday or they have an anniversary coming up. So that's a good way to leverage like seasonal things where maybe people are buying chocolate or just looking for a gift, things like that, or just target people who like different chocolate brands or have different chocolate interests, uploading a customer list and then creating a lookalike audience. So there's definitely a lot you can do there, and it's not crazy to think that we could get a $5 cost per purchase. It just takes a while to get down to that. So that's why I bring up the lifetime value. But yeah, there's a lot of different purchasing options as well, or not purchase options, targeting options.
Wonderful, thank you. One additional question: can you expound a little bit more on the concept of lookalike audiences so that they get a better understanding of what that is and how that is beneficial?
Yeah, definitely. So what you'll do is you'll take a customer list or a lead list, and you'll upload that to Facebook. And so then what Facebook does is it takes those emails, so the names, emails, phone numbers, zip codes of those people, and it matches those profiles with existing Facebook accounts. Facebook has a lot of information and data. So just think of all the different websites you use to log in with Facebook. They're gathering data from that. They're also hiring third-party data companies to supply them with even more data. So once again, based on your email, phone number, name, and zip, they'll match that data with your profile. So Facebook, they're just gathering a lot of data about people. So you'll upload your list, and then Facebook's then going to create a lookalike audience based off of that persona they've created. So based off of your customers' interests, demographic information, behaviors, they then create a lookalike audience that's around 2 million, and you can go all the way up to 20 million people. So the higher you go, obviously the more diluted it gets. So we typically like to just keep it around the 2 to 6 million mark. So that's how Facebook though puts that lookalike audience together. Does that answer the question?
I think so, yes, thank you. One person, Gary, asks, how can I actually get a human at Facebook to talk to me about questions? For more sophisticated problems, their forums are totally inadequate. Any suggestions?
Good luck. No, they're investing a little bit more into their workforce there. They will, so there is, I believe if you go to facebook.com/support, that will bring up your support inbox. And that's also a way that you can submit a ticket where you will interact with a real person, so you always see, that it will be, Chad or Sarah or whoever will be responding to you. Now the hard part, even when you do talk to someone like that, they're kind of strapped to Facebook's policies. So there's typically, if you're having an ad policy issue, they typically can't do a whole lot to help you. Now we, as an agency, have agency contacts, so that is an advantage that we do have. But at the same time, their hands are kind of tied in a lot of cases, just because they have to stay true to the ad policies, and a lot of it is kind of comes down to what they do think is best at times. So it is a frustrating piece of Facebook, and that's probably actually a good thing to add to the con section, that their support definitely isn't anywhere near as good as AdWords support is, or even Twitter or LinkedIn. So everyone has a much better support system than Facebook right now.
Well, those are all of the questions that I have at the moment, but a question for you just in general from me. What is your preferred platform, or do you have kind of a system at Disruptive to choose the right platform for your clients?
Yeah, so of our paid social clients, I'd say 90% of them are doing Facebook. So it's definitely, I would say Facebook advertising is definitely our preferred platform. Just like I said, it's just a very mature ad network. They invest in their ad network because that's where they make their revenue, where some of these other ad platforms are making their revenue through other sources. So yeah, I definitely like Facebook, especially when it comes down to generating leads or generating purchases. I do really like Twitter and LinkedIn for content promotion. More so Twitter, just because it's a little bit cheaper. But LinkedIn also, if you're B2B, is might be a better channel for content promotion, because it's your actual audience, and you see that just based on time on site and different things like that. So, but overall, I would definitely say Facebook, and Instagram is by far my favorite platform.
Wonderful, thank you. We are all out of live questions, so again, if anyone on the webinar has any additional questions related to PPC, social media, paid advertising, please feel free to throw them in the question section. If you do have additional questions or would like additional resources, Israel did ask about that. I'm going to throw up here in the chat. Boost You has a free resource section that has a bunch of things about getting your business up online, SEO, social media. There's plenty of things there. You can also read articles or blog posts on our blog. I'm also including those in the chat section. So you have those links. Those are free resources, of course. Sonder, please let me know if you also have a blog or some other additional resources for our listeners, and we will be sure to either throw them in the chat. If we don't get them into the chat by the end of the webinar, we'll be sure to include them in the webinar notes. Now, just to let everyone know, we are recording the webinar, so don't worry if you miss some notes, miss some thoughts, because you will get a recording of this webinar. And it's also available on the Boostability YouTube page. A few days after, we do have to process the video, but it will also be available on YouTube so that you can go back, reference the information that myself and Kaz and Sonder spoke about during the webinar. So don't worry about that, but please feel free to go to these additional resources and feel free to read up on things. And also, if you have any additional questions, or if we end the webinar and you remember a question that you wanted asked, please feel free to tweet us. You can always tweet Boostability at AskBoost. Again, we will be available on Twitter after the webinar for approximately half an hour, maybe up to an hour, depending on how many additional questions there are. But we always try to be available online directly after the webinars in case something happens to strike right after the webinar ends. Now again, if you want to follow any of myself, Kaz, or Sonder, any of the speakers here on the webinar today, you can always follow us on Twitter. Kaz's Twitter handle is KazBevan. My Twitter handle, again, I'm Sunny Nielsen. My Twitter handle is the Jolly Polly. And Sonder's Twitter handle is Sonder Schroed, and that is SAUNDERSCHROED. Mine, the Jolly Polly, TheJolllyPoly. Or you can always follow Disruptive Advertising. They have great things on their Twitter, and you can follow them at Disruptive Ads. That is DISRUPTIVE ads, ADS. And go ahead, follow us, tweet us. We are always happy to answer questions and to provide valuable information so that you guys can succeed. Now, we haven't had any additional questions come through, so I think we are going to kind of wrap this webinar up. So please, we would love to see any and all of you from this webinar on our next webinar, which is happening May 4th, 2017. Please join us as our Director of SEO here at Boostability, Colton Miller, will be reviewing May the 4th Be With You. That is SEO tips for the DIY Jedi. Now, once again, we are so glad that you joined us today. Thank you so much, Sonder, for joining us and providing so much value to the webinar. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Kaz, thank you so much for joining us from halfway around the world. I know it's super early on your end.
No worries. Thank you. This has been great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that we will see you on May the 4th.